welcome Chris Waller from Swinburne. But we might move now to the work that Swinburne did under that title G-Tourism, and Jane Connory and Chris are going to present that.
Thank you.
You're setting that up. Apologies for being late. I've had all manner of technical challenges. When it comes to my part, it may be easiest if I share screen, if that's all right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you again for the time and space to present the work from Swinburne students. Today I'll be showing work from our Master of Design students, and Chris will be presenting from our Bachelor of Design students. I don't think we've had an acknowledgement of country, and I'm not sure if we're on Wurundjeri land here.
We're on Gadigal. No, I'm not sure.
Well,
where are we? It is
Wurundjeri. So I'll respectfully acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional owners of the land on which Swinburne's Australian campuses are located, as well as where we are today. We're honoured to recognise our connection to Wurundjeri country, history, culture and spirituality through these locations, and strive to ensure that we operate in a manner that respects and honours the elders and ancestors of these lands. We also respectfully acknowledge Swinburne's Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islanders, staff, students, alumni, partners and visitors, as well as all the other universities we're working with today. And we acknowledge and respect the traditional owners of lands across Australia, their elders, ancestors, cultures and heritage, and recognise the continuing sovereignties of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nations. Okay, so this is me. I've already done my little introduction, but my background's in communication design, but our masters that we deliver at Swinburne is a multidisciplinary sort of design masters. So we have students across communication design, there are architecture students, interior design, UX, UI, and students coming in from industry as well. So it's a lovely sort of diverse collaborative project that the students have been working on. And Chris will be speaking, as I mentioned, after I do. He's also has a background in communication design. So you'll sort of see that influence heavily in the student work. So what the problem as we delivered it to the master's students was over-tourism on the Great Ocean Road, that damage to the road, the environment and ultimately the communities that live and work along the road is being caused by over-tourism. The Swinburne Masters students created prototypes to address this problem. These were encouraged to be either practical or speculative and blue sky. So the students were assessed just as much on their process and their research as well, which I'm not showing today, but they had the help of Soren Lackens from Bureau North, which is a leading experienced design studio. He spent half of our classes online. We were on Zoom. We weren't in class face to face doing this project. And he shared a lot of case studies of not similar problems, but similar problems in that they could be solved through sort of human design research methods and strategies. And so the students really took that on board. But we were also had the hurdle of the fact that probably 75% of our students were overseas and had never seen the Great Ocean Road. So I think that's evident in their solution.
Jane, I wonder, we're seeing presenter mode. I don't mind seeing presenter mode, but it might not be what you were intending.
Are you? Because we're not seeing it that way here.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Just leave it then. That's fine.
Does that stop you seeing the full screens, Jane? Is that
we just see the current and the next slide, that's all. It's not, it just doesn't matter really.
Well, they're just seeing what's on the screen.
Oh, they are.
We'll see whether we can fix that. Yeah.
Tomorrow screen, yeah. I'm watching other stuff, sorry.
I think we might continue if you online wouldn't mind. We'll just stay with
They
this
can
mode.
still, they can still.
Yeah.
step
You can still step.
I don't mind you seeing a step ahead.
Sorry.
So if you're not familiar, Bureau North are an award-winning studio that Soren founded, and they did the wayfinding work on the Royal Children's Hospitals. If you've had the unfortunate experience of being there, it's quite fortunate in that the wayfinding is a fantastically designed space that is more illustrative than text-based and makes children feel at home. So all these case studies and research methodologies he brought to the students. So I'm going to show you two projects today. As I said, they're very heavily based in communication design, and both these approaches to addressing the problem of over-tourism have a system behind them. So project one, there's an influx of tourists. Well, this is the problem, how they stated it, gathering in the popular attractions that have caused the environment to be overwhelmed and polluted. And has also had a negative impact on the experience of tourists and the quality of life of locals. So both the projects I'm going to show you are a strategy, a way of kind of funneling tourists away from the main attractions that everyone knows of, and giving locals further inland from the Great Ocean Road the benefit of having tourist dollars coming in, but also giving the environment that space to sort of breathe without the heavy traffic coming through. So this solution, as you can see, has a visitor centre on the top right, which was designed to be in Geelong as that funnel that where visitors sort of come from that direction. The research was done to show the user journey of people coming to the Great Ocean Road. It was shown that they're coming from that direction through Geelong. So the visitor centre was an immersive experience. I'll show you a bit more. That would then filter people inland as well as along the Great Ocean Road, and sort of a track in between as well. So filter them right through the space. The current way that most tourists travel are in tour buses, and so part of this system was to create kind of fun, local looking tourist buses that were electricity powered buses, but branded to go along with the whole system. There was also in the bottom right, you can see little kind of signposts that are designed to reflect the 12 apostles in the landscape, to give an interactive feature. So people, as they visited these more unknown places, could get the background, the history, but our students were also given a lot of information about Indigenous cultures and the heritage and the history in spaces as well. So these were also part of an attempt to share that history beyond the pretty things you can see, to share the stories behind. But the actual tourist centre was again designed to look like the 12 apostles. So to give people just that feeling of the space that they were coming into, designed to fit in a landscape. We weren't urban designers, so we don't know exactly where in Geelong this would be. These are the more blue sky ideas, but very iconic in itself. So one of the things that the students wanted people to experience as they first came in was a weather installation, which would simulate the current weather and future weather of the destinations that they're going to, which I think is very much a local experience. If you've been there, we all know it can change on a dime, and you know, the further you go, the different weather. So it just sort of helps people to understand the experience that they're coming into. Real-time galleries, so that the people, the tourists themselves, are a part of this experience. The photos that they're taking in less known places then become a live exhibition in that space too. So they're sharing and encouraging others to come to these spaces. You know, the whole Instagram culture of international tourists, they can start to see, even though they're less famous, they're very Instagrammable. There's also on those little sort of rock wayfinding destination design signs, basically, there was a virtual high five function where they wanted to collect density information of how many people were actually there on the day. So that would be projected in the visitor centre as well. So a lot of fun to get people involved. And we did all this user-centred research, which I'm not going to present today, but this was kind of a before the solution journey map of a lot of the pain points that you experience, including traffic jams, etc., just based on emotion. But how, you know, the whole wow factor and new experiences can really change and be improved by filtering people from Geelong inland from the Great Ocean Road. So that was the first project that really has legs, but really is the basis. We're not doing a studio, which will then sort of unpick this and improve upon it. But the discussions with Chris is that there's definitely space for sort of the locals having more of an impact or a contribution to these solutions as well. The second one, again, is a system, but this is more based on an app. Again, there was research done to show that international tourists especially, you know, need to plan, and apps are a platform that they're used to and they'd like to use. But rather than a system, this was more a campaign to spread people across the road, the Great Ocean Road, with the whole concept of hidden gems. And I mean, my experience of the Great Ocean Road, I grew up in Werribee, so I was down there every holidays I could. And there's so many, you know, gallery spaces, cafes, restaurants, little shops where you can put posters and postcards up, you know, without having an impact on the environment. So this was just to sort of, this campaign, really an advertising campaign, was to utilise existing spaces for advertising and just promote these, again, lesser known places or hidden gems. Postcard was a great idea that could then, you know, literally be used to send back to international family friends to promote these lesser known places even more. But the places themselves, the idea was to have signage that connected visually to what people were seeing on the rest of the campaign, and a simple QR code so that you could connect to the app and learn a lot more about these places. So the app itself, again, was a planning app, but it would gather data on density information about where people were, what was really busy, and help you go places that weren't, and guarantee you still an interesting time. So there were switches and functions on the app to show all that. That's just the research showing the effectiveness of apps and how that as a hub to a system could really help diversify the experiences and the trips that users or people, tourists on the Great Ocean Road could have. So they're the two projects I was very happy to share today, and hopefully Chris can show his projects from our Bachelor of Design. Chris, you can share your screen, I think.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jane. It's great to see our work in a parallel universe. Jane very kindly prepared a template for me, and I've been unable to use it, unfortunately, so my presentation looks slightly different. In fact, it's the Master of Design as well. We had the integrative capstone studios. I'm assuming you can all see my screen there. Would that be right? Everybody?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So the project went for the entirety of the year across 2 units. The first of those was led by Dr. Andrew Haig, and then I took the second capstone studio. So in the first part with Andrew, that was primarily about the research underpinning the project, and students did a lot of evaluative interviews and really scoped out their understanding of the Great Ocean Road project. So in the second half, in the first part, students were also working in teams, and the integrative part of this is that students needed to, within their team, integrate their solution within a holistic whole. So each student would have contribute to a solution that was integrated into a whole, and we'll see how that works. In the second part of the project, Andrew did get them up to the point where they did initial concepts. And then I carried the project through. The students completed a project charter to restate their understanding of the project. They then did a full proposal and a report. And during the second half of the project, our focus largely was on iterative design. So lots of design development and user testing. So it was evidence-based. The first project I'm going to share with you, it just so happens that these projects are communication design based, which is coincidental because as I say, Andrew had evolved many of the directions for the projects. These are the two that I happen to wish to present today. So project 3 by Anne is Go Farm Stay Retreat. And as students approached the design challenge as a research question, and there was a fair bit of refinement in this question. So Anne's question was, how might augmented digital tools promote agri-tourism for the Great Ocean Road regions while improving tourism sustainability? And this was a question informed by the clearly the objectives of the Great Ocean Road project. Anne's solution, I'll show you some screens in a moment from her outcome, was to develop the Go app. So Anne was basically, her rationale is that over 80% of travellers use mobile apps to travel, and therefore we can increase the target audience interactivity through this app to promote the image of the Great Ocean Road agri-tourism closer to the community. So it's a digitally led project, but you'll see that Anne has given consideration to how the project is promoted and actually implemented. So she took the view that as Great Ocean Road agri-tourism becomes better known, the number of tourists visiting will spread between the major coastal areas and farming areas or the inland regions, which will help reduce over-tourism in crowded areas and bring positive effects to the environment. So it has a sustainability benefit as well, a benefit to the community. And this was Anne's project. I'm just going to show some selected screens. Oh, and by the way, there are a couple of QR codes coming up because in both cases, these students actually created an Adobe XD demo app, which is online. So if you have your phone handy and your camera fired up, these are live QR codes. So this is Anne's project. This was her design proposal component. That's the front page there. And obviously part of the project involved an understanding of the region itself. And it was actually as a byproduct of being involved in this project at some point that I had the opportunity to go into that region around Colac, and I'd never taken that route before, and wow, so I didn't even realize we had volcanoes, a volcanic area in our state. But you can see the quality of the work there. So the challenge, of course, for students was that they couldn't actually visit, and many of them were international students working virtually. So I think they've done an amazing job to understand the challenge at hand. This is Anne's brand identity, Great Ocean Farm Stay Retreats, where she's trying to engage her users with farms, agricultural tourism, and she's doing it through an app called Farm Stay Retreats, which has a number of key features that allows the user to engage, well, I guess either before they arrive in the region or while they're there. And there's a QR code. I'm just showing some of the outcomes from the project here. You can see that we asked the students to think about how this proposal would be communicated to the community, the stakeholders. And so you'll see here that it wasn't just the development of a standalone app, but also the marketing and the communication strategy that supported it. And this is just coming into focus. And you can see the collateral there that Anne has used to expand her concept out and reach out to the community and her target audiences. I won't ask you to read this page other than to say that the students created prototypes, and then they did two kinds of user testing. Often it was A/B testing, comparing two different options, but sometimes, well, that invariably led to much, much better outcomes. And this diagram here shows two of the three students in that project. Unfortunately, I don't have the third project at hand, but how the projects were integrated. So this is the integrated aspect of how each of those parts of the design proposal were complementary. The final project, Project 4, is once again Go. Isn't it great that Great Ocean Road has Go in it? So it was a great opportunity to pick that up into the branding and the naming. This project by Huda. Her research question: how might augmented digital tools promote agri-tourism for the Great Ocean Road regions while improving tourism sustainability? You can probably see some similarities there between Huda's and Anne's statements, but they are created individually. So Huda's solution, once again, was to create an app. I think this app does have a slightly different functionality. It targets a different aspect of this problem. It creates a platform to share information and motivate travellers to explore those lesser known areas of the Great Ocean Road. So whereas Anne was really agri-tourism, Huda is really de-tourism, I think, and they overlap. The app provides assistance to tourists who are keen to explore, experience and engage with the local region, its community and surrounding environment. So the students have really thought about not only the sustainability issues, not only about the over-tourism issues, but the benefits to the community and stakeholders. The app highlights the best regional features and it eases over-tourism in the region by dispersing visitors across multiple attractions. This is the front cover of Huda's proposal. And once again, her app showing her understanding of the inland region and the Great Ocean Road coastal area. Key features of the app include GPS navigation, location finder suggestion, event calendars, an opportunity to read and post reviews, and a reward system. So it's incentivized as well. Some screens from Huda's proposal. Once again, looking at not just the design of the communication design or app outcomes, but also considering customer experience, marketing materials, and communication strategy. Once again, the text here is way too small to read, but the impression I think this demonstrates is the process that Huda has used for her evidence and testing, and some card sorting there on preferences for app features and functions. Once again, the integration, I think that's almost the identical schematic with a slightly different style. And that concludes my part of the presentation. Thank you very much. And back to Jane.
Thank you, Chris.